The January transfer window has now closed, but how has that affected the bookmakers' predictions for who they think is being promoted and relegated from the Championship this season? Let's take a look. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What would you personally grade your team's January transfer window, let's say out of 10? I think it's fair to say some clubs during this window have been more proactive than others, but if you've been keeping up to date with all the content going out on the channel over January, obviously we were covering all the transfers going through as they were happening. Now, the last time we did one of these videos looking into the bookies' predictions for the Championship was around about the start of January, so we'll be seeing in this video how much the markets have changed since that point. So kicking things off in 24th place and still as the most likely side to be relegated according to the bookies, that is Plymouth Argyle, now with relegation odds of 1-16. Now there has been quite a bit of change within that Plymouth squad in the January window. Obviously the sales of Gibson and Whittaker especially, they've looked towards the European market to do a bit of their business, which they've liked to do over these past few windows. Now, to be fair to Plymouth, I think in recent weeks most of us have thought that they'll probably be the side that gets cut adrift at the bottom of the Championship, but with a couple of their recent results, picking that point up away at Sunderland and then beating West Brom, they have brought themselves back into contention. They're only 4 points away from safety as things stand. So while they are still the most likely side to be relegated, recent results have given themselves a chance of getting back into the fight. Now, by far the biggest fallers on this table since January is Derby County. They've fallen 7 places in this table according to the bookies, and are now the second most likely side to be relegated from the Championship with relegation odds of 5-4. That coming off the back of 7 consecutive losses. You can see why Derby have tumbled down the table so much. Now, coming into January, Derby were sat 16th in the league table. They were 6 points clear of the relegation zone, but this recent run of form has really left them in it, and I mean, based on that recent form, it's no wonder the bookies have them as the second favourites to be relegated. I believe that's the first time this season that Derby have been in the bottom 3 in terms of who's most likely to go down according to the bookies. And I don't think any of us saw this coming at the start of the season either, but now Luton are the third most likely side to be relegated, going off Sky Bet. They've got relegation odds of 11-8. That's a fall of 4 places from the last time we did one of these videos in January. Now, Luton did do a fair bit of business in January, to be fair to them, but Luton fans, will that be enough for you and Matt Bloomfield to avoid the drop this season? As of recording, Luton are sat 23rd in the league table. It's really been their away form which has been such a hindrance to them this season, but with relegation odds of 11-8, it's not looking great for them at the moment. And Portsmouth fans will be pleased to know that they are no longer in the bottom 3, not just in real life, but according to the bookies as well. They're no longer one of the 3 most likely sides to be relegated. They've now got relegation odds of 13-8, and that is a rise of 2 places in this table since we last checked in on them. It does feel like the home form for Pompey in particular will be absolutely pivotal to keeping them up this season, but based on their current points per game trajectory, they're projected to pick up 46 points this season, which as of recording right now would be enough to keep them up. Coming in 20th place, we've got Hull City. Now, they've not actually moved whatsoever in this table compared to their position in January. They've got relegation odds of 5-2 right now. Hull fans have definitely seen a bit more optimism and reason to believe under Ruben Sellés. They were one of the most proactive clubs in the January window as well. However, what will be a real hindrance to the Tigers this season will be their home form. They've really struggled to consistently pick up points at home, which is the reason they're still well stuck into this relegation battle right now. Hull are the only team in the Championship who's averaged less than a point per game at home this season. They've only picked up 12 points from their 16 home matches this far into the campaign. It was another loss for them at home last time out against Stoke City. If they can sort out that home form, I wouldn't really have many fears about them. I think they have improved this squad quite considerably with some of their January additions, but when you're not able to consistently pick up points at your own place, it's always going to leave you in a tricky position, isn't it? In 19th place, we've got Stoke City. That's not a change whatsoever from January, with relegation odds of 11-4 right now. Stoke fans, how are you feeling coming out of this January window? Obviously, the big story revolving around Stoke going into January was the future regarding Tom Cannon. Would he stay for the rest of the season or would he be recalled? Obviously, ended up being recalled and and then sold to Sheffield United. Listen, this season as a whole has been a bit of a train wreck for Stoke City. I think most fans would admit that. They're on their third permanent manager now, but you'd like to think that Robins would have enough tactical nous and know-how to get Stoke over the line, but those last couple of relegation spots are still very open. In 18th place, according to the bookies, it will be Cardiff come the end of this season. Now, that is a rise of 3 places from last time. They've now got relegation odds of 4-1, so the bookies are a lot more confident that Cardiff will survive this season compared to a few weeks ago. Now, Cardiff, to be fair to them, had recently put together a decent unbeaten run when they were making themselves quite tough to break down. Obviously, that went out the window over the weekend as Leeds put 7 past them, but I think they'll just have to try and get that one out of their system as soon as possible, really. Because they have put a bit of breathing space between themselves and the bottom 3 recently. 4 points between themselves and the relegation zone right now, albeit they could very easily be dragged back into that with a couple of losses. One of the biggest rises from last time is Oxford. They've risen 5 places by the bookies, now with relegation odds of 11-2. And let's face it, Gary Rowett's men are the form team in the Championship right now. They've not lost since Boxing Day. Oxford fans have to be a whole lot more confident about survival now compared to how they were a couple months ago, especially towards the end of Des Buckingham's time at the club, where they were on a really tough run of form. And credit to the people behind the scenes, because getting rid of Buckingham at the time when they did, I know Oxford weren't on a great run of form then, but it still wasn't a very popular decision. But the club's really backed Rowett, and I feel like they're reaping the rewards for that right now. Coming in 16th place, we've got Swansea. Promotion odds of 150-1, relegation odds of 16-1, and this is a fall of 4 places from last time. Without a win in 6, they're on one of the worst runs of form in the Championship at the moment. There's still a reasonable amount of breathing space between themselves and the bottom 3, but if this bad run of form continues for much longer, Swansea are going to find themselves in a whole lot of trouble. They're conceding a lot of goals right now. Not much is going for them in the final third either, and obviously coming off the back of a January window where you've lost a figure in that club as important as Matt Grimes, something definitely hasn't smelt right with Swansea of late. Coming in 15th place, according to the bookies, at the end of the season, it will be my club, Preston North End. Promotion odds of 150-1, relegation odds of 25-1. That's not a change whatsoever since last time, and I think most Preston fans would agree that a finish of around about 15th is probably quite reasonable. We've definitely become a lot more solid and hard to beat under Paul Heckingbottom, albeit are probably still lacking that little bit of stardust to properly kick us on to the next level. But I think I speak for most Preston fans where I'll say I've been really impressed by Lewis Gibson so far, especially in what we've seen of him. We're in desperate need of strengthening our back line coming into January, and seems to be the ideal sort of addition that we were in need of. Cool and confident on the ball, but also reads the game very well, and you can tell has very good and sharp defensive instincts. So North End in 15th, I'd say, is pretty reasonable. We've seen an ever so slight drop off from QPR in their last couple of matches. They've lost back-to-back games for the first time in quite a while, but it's still a rise of 3 places on this table since we last checked in on them, which I think is quite reasonable. They've also got promotion odds of 150-1 and relegation odds of 20-5-1, the exact same as North End right now. Certainly can't see them going down this season, but in a similar boat to North End, where they maybe don't quite have enough quality in that squad to properly kick on. In 13th place, the bookies have Millwall, who ended up being really busy in this January window. Ended up breaking their club record transfer fee. Obviously, the big news regarding Millwall was the future of Romain Esse. He was someone who had a lot of question marks over his head coming into the January window. Millwall managed to bank quite a bit of money in selling him to QPR, and to be honest, I think most of us expected Millwall to sit on that money probably until the summer, where we thought they'd then look to reinvest it. But fair play to them, they've turned straight to the January market to spend a bit of that cash. Broke their club record transfer fee, like I say, and they've been on a decent run of form recently under Alex Neil. Watford do seem to be going in the opposite direction right now. They are one of the most out of form teams in the Championship. They do have promotion odds of 66-1, relegation odds of 150-1, and the bookies predicting them to finish in 12th, which is a fall of 2 places from the last time we did one of these videos. be honest, I do think Watford probably were punching above their weight in the first half of the season when they got themselves into playoff contention. I don't think that squad quite stacked up to the results they were getting in the first half of the season. I think they probably have reverted to the mean in recent weeks. But Watford fans, what's your overall mood coming out of January? Let me know down below. In 11th place, the bookies have Sheffield Wednesday. That's not a change whatsoever from where they had them last time. Promotion odds of 25-1. Now, Sheffield Wednesday are in a part of the table with quite a few clubs where there's really not a lot between them. Only 2 points separating Wednesday from the top 6 right now. I think most of us would agree have got one of the best managers in the league as well. But Wednesday fans, do you think you've got the quality, not just in your starting 11, but the squad depth to make a proper charge for the top 6 in the second half of the season? Or do you think that could let you down? Let me know down below. Now, when it comes to Blackburn, it's quite interesting because despite occupying a spot in the top 6 right now, coming out of January, the bookies don't have them as one of the 6 favourites to be promoted this season, and they've actually fallen 2 places in the bookies' overall rankings since we last checked in on them. Promotion odds of 20-1. We have seen their form tail off in recent weeks, to be fair, albeit they did get back to winning ways against Preston on Friday night, but the bookies does reckon a few teams may sneak over them in these coming weeks and into the top 6. And to be honest, I think I would have Blackburn just outside the top 6 right now, personally, if I had to predict it for Rovers come the end of the season. But to be in playoff contention anyway, considering the vast majority of people had them down for a relegation dogfight at the start of the season, is an achievement in itself. And to be honest, I think that Blackburn will probably like to play on the underdog tag as well. Bristol City haven't changed in the bookies' estimations whatsoever. They're still in 9th come the end of the season. Promotion odds of 20-1 right now. They've certainly been accumulating points at a decent rate at Ashton Gate recently. If they can start churning out some consistent wins on the road, then they really could mount a playoff charge, but we're yet to see evidence of that from Bristol City. They've only won 3 away matches so far this season. Gradually creeping back up this table, we've got Coventry, now with promotion odds of 12-1. That's a rise of 5 places since we last checked in on them. Now, they are one of the form teams in the Championship right now. They've been on a fabulous run of form. It really feels like Frank Lampard has his feet under the table now at Coventry, and I mean, they've got a massive game coming up in midweek against Leeds United as well, which I'm really looking forward to. Cov were one of the promotion favourites before a ball had been kicked at the start of the season, but their bad start under Robbins had put a lot of people off. But having now won their last 4 on the bounce, they're starting to get themselves back into the conversation. So finishing 7th come the end of the season, the bookies have Norwich. I think it's fair to say the Canaries definitely had a bit of a wobble throughout the whole month of December, really. They obviously had a few big injuries around about that time. It coincided with their form dropping off. But since the turn of the year, they've been picking up points on a more consistent basis. They're only a few points away from the top 6 right now. They've got Matej Jurasek to integrate into that starting 11 as well, which I'm quite excited about going forward. Promotion odds of 9-1 right now. They'll definitely be there or thereabouts, Norwich. Coming in with promotion odds of 8-1, the bookies do think that West Brom will hold out for a top 6 spot come the end of the season. These last 2 playoff spots, really, I think are very open. I think most of us would agree that, you know, the top 4 is really sealed off, but do West Brom have what it takes to get over the line this season like they did last time around? I think there probably is a little bit less confidence in general after the Baggies obviously lost Carlos Corberán, but replacing him with Tony Mowbray is certainly nothing to be sniffed at. West Brom fans, though, how confident are you in making the top 6, especially compared to this time last season as well? And it's not a change whatsoever for Middlesbrough. The bookies do have them to finish in 5th place, promotion odds of 10-3. I definitely think there is an expectation with Middlesbrough, more so than the other clubs below them, that they should be making it into the top 6. They've been tipped as one of the promotion favourites from the get-go this season, really. Obviously spent a fair bit of money in January as well. We've said it a few times on the channel, but it's just been consistent that's been their main issue this season, because at their best they are capable of going toe-to-toe with anyone in this league, but definitely a lot more than the 4 sides above them according to the bookies. They definitely got a lapse in concentration at the back, which more often than not has ended up costing them. Coming in 4th place at the end of the season, it will be Sunderland according to the bookies with promotion odds of 6-5. That's not a change whatsoever from January. Obviously Sunderland were busy in the January window, but Sunderland fans, will it be enough to get you over the line line this season. As a bare minimum, they're going to be in the top 6 this season, but Bookies doesn't think they quite have what it takes to finish in the top 2. And it is quite interesting, despite currently being on the longest unbeaten run in the Championship, Burnley have actually dropped 1 place since last time, and according to the latest promotion odds, they're now the 3rd most likely side to be promoted this season, as of recording, with promotion odds of 10-11. What's counted against Burnley recently has just been how many draws there's been in there for Scott Parker's side. You know, they've only lost 2 games so far this season. That's less than any Championship club. They've got by far the best defensive record in the league as well, but they've already drawn 13 matches so far this season, which is more than double Sheffield United, for example. Especially those goalless draws at home. Are those going to come back to haunt Burnley come the end of the season? They very well could. And you probably guessed it, with Burnley dropping down to 3rd place, Sheffield United have leapfrogged them into the 2nd spot according to the bookies, now with promotion odds of 8-15. Obviously the Blades making quite a few big additions in January, especially at the front end of the pitch with the likes of Ben Brereton Diaz and Tom Cannon. Big backing there for Wilder, along with the Sheffield United boss signing a new contract himself. It's interesting because before a ball had been kicked this season, out of the 3 clubs that were coming down from the Premier League, Sheffield United were probably the club least tipped for promotion. You know, most of us had Burnley and Luton ahead of them, but we're over halfway into this Championship season right now, and most would probably have Sheffield United as the best of those 3. But in terms of the overall favourites to be promoted this season, nothing has changed. It is still Leeds United topping this table, now with promotion odds of just 1-20. They're coming off the back of an absolutely brilliant performance and showing over the weekend, putting 7 goals past Cardiff. Leeds have been by far the best team in the Championship this season when it comes to hitting the back of the net. They've already scored 60 goals. They're averaging 2 goals per game. Their goal difference absolutely blows everyone else in the division out of the water, already plus 41. The next best is Burnley, who are on plus 27 at the moment. I think most would agree Leeds are the overwhelming favourites to be promoted this season, and it does feel like it would take a massive capitulation, maybe similar to what we sort of saw at the end of last season, for them not to go up from this point. But still a lot can change between now and the end of the season, whether that's injuries, a bad decision or 2 going their way, or just a few individual mistakes creeping into their game. But I think most would agree they're the favourites for a reason. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do you agree with the bookies' predictions for the end of the season? Let me know down below. But other than that, thank you very much for tuning in, guys. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.